So what is that? All right, sir, thank you for your patience. Just give me 1 second to catch up on all of these. Where's the time for you? Okay, in Cordoba. All right, sir, can I get your name?
Walter Wayne Allison III.
Right. Oh, can I get the number 1 file? I gave you the wrong one. I think. Sorry. Oh, no, I did. Sorry, never mind. I was looking at the wrong number. All right, sir, we are seeing you've been picked up on some misdemeanor or a misdemeanor charge out of Pima County Justice Court. You were charged with 1 count of possession of drug paraphernalia. We're going to be talking about your release conditions at next court dates. So you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, though not necessarily at court expense. Now I've reviewed your pretrial services workup and your citation. I am going to release you on your promise to appear. Your next court date will be on October the 7th at 8:30 in the morning. As conditions of your release, no alcohol or drugs, and don't go back to the incident location. Now, sir, you need to make sure you make your court date. If you don't come to court, a warrant's going to issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir, you're excused.
Thank you.
Door downstairs filled with mail. Attaway.
Good evening.
Hello, sir. Can I get your name?
Dean Calvin Attaway III.
All right, sir, we are seeing you this evening because it looks like you have a case pending in Nogales City Court. You were charged with 1 count of driving under the influence and 1 count of driving under the influence with a BAC of 0.08 or more. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, though not necessarily at court expense. Now, sir, what I'm going to do is I'm going to release you on your promise to appear. I'm going to give you a court date in Nogales. You're going to need to contact Nogales so you can get an attorney signed to you and so you can get this resolved. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
All right, so as conditions of your release, no alcohol, no drugs, don't drive without a valid license, and your next court date is going to be on October the 29th at 10 o'clock in the morning. You will get paperwork that has information on how to contact the court and with the date and time of your hearing. So, sir, you understand you need to show up in court. If you don't, a warrant's going to issue again, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, so you're excused.
Sir, out the door downstairs with mail. Fullness here. Good morning, Your Honor.
Hello. Can I get your
Hello.
full name, please?
Your Montano Wholeness.
All right, sir, we are seeing you this evening because you have a case that's pending out of Highland Justice Court in Gilbert, Arizona. You were charged with driving on a suspended license and there was a failure to appear that was added. Let me just go ahead and check here with the warrant. So, sir, you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, though not necessarily at court expense. Sir, what I'm going to do based on the nature of the charge is I am going to release you on your promise to appear. I'm going to give you a court date here in a second. You need to make sure you make that hearing and you get this taken care of because it's not going to go away and we don't want another warrant issuing, right?
We don't. Not a problem, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, so your next court date is October the 23rd at 8:30 in the morning. As conditions of your release, do not drive without a valid license. Your paperwork will include the information on how to reach the Highland Justice Court to get that resolved. Now, you also have a city court case. Let me take a look at that. So in your city court matter, you've got a case from 2023, and it looks like you were placed on probation back on August the 6th of 2024. You were originally charged with reckless driving, And the petition to revoke your probation was filed in February of this year, alleging that you failed to provide proof of alcohol treatment and add victim impact panel and failed to appear for a review hearing on February the 20th. So, sir, as I mentioned, you do have those rights to remain silent and to an attorney. Additionally, you have the right to be present for all court dates. However, if you don't come to court, then a warrant will issue for your arrest. Also, if you don't come to court and you are convicted and you cannot be sentenced within 90 days because of your failure to come to court, then you could also lose your right to a direct appeal. Now, sir, the reason I'm going through all that is what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter denials on your behalf to these allegations in the petition to revoke. I am going to release you on your promise to appear.
Thank you. I will appear, Your Honor.
Your next court date, here in just a second, let me just go ahead and sign this, will be on October the 17th, 2025. That will be at 9 o'clock in the morning. And that will be with Judge Hale over at Tucson City Court.
Got it.
Now, when were you on unsupervised probation, it looks like? So
Yes.
you did not have an assigned probation officer?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, did you have an attorney at the time your case was pending?
I believe I actually did, but I would not be able to pull up his name out of my memory right now. I'd have to look at paperwork, but I did attend with a lawyer. Yes.
Okay, so looking at this, it looks like you were represented by Michael Rosenbluth. I'm not going to appoint
Okay.
him right now, but he's with the City Public Defender's Office. You need to go ahead and get in touch with him, okay?
Thank you, Rosenbluth. Thank you.
All right, so your next court date is going to be October the 17th at 9 o'clock in the morning. You're excused.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
I have to go downstairs with mails. Resolve day. Goodbye.
Hello, can I get your name?
Levi Guillermo Lazalde.
All right, sir, we are seeing you this evening rather, for a new misdemeanor charge out of Green Valley Justice Court. You've been charged with one count of interfering with the judicial proceedings. That is a domestic violence offense as alleged. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, and I'm appointing Janet Altschuler to represent you. Now, I've read the citation and the probable cause information. I've also looked at the pretrial services report. It looks like you currently have another DV case pending in Green Valley. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to order you be held on $1,000 cash or secured bond. You're not to commit any acts of domestic violence, no alcohol, drugs, firearms, or weapons. You're also not to have any contact with the alleged victim, Talano Chantal Yobera, and you're not to have any contact with her residence or her workplace. I'm setting an arraignment hearing in Green Valley on October the 9th at 8:30 in the morning. If you're in custody, the jail will take care of bringing you to that. If you're out of custody, you need to get there on your own and you'll get paperwork with all this information. Now, sir, you need to make sure you make your court dates. If you don't, a warrant will issue. That's all for this evening. You're excused.
Delante Anthony. Frank Plant. Sorry. There you go, buddy.
Hello, can I get your name?
Anthony Plant, Plante.
All right, sir, we are seeing you this evening because you were arrested on new misdemeanor domestic violence charges out of Pima County Justice Court. You were charged with one count of disorderly conduct. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, though not necessarily at court expense. Now, we're going to talk about your release conditions and your next court dates. I've reviewed all your information, and I am going to release you on your promise to appear. Your next court date will be on October the 7th at 10:30 in the morning. That will be a Pima County Justice Court. As conditions of your release, no alcohol, drugs, firearms, or weapons. You're also not to commit any acts of domestic violence. And it sounds like the alleged victim is okay with having contact with you right now. So I'm not going to put any kind of contact restrictions in place at this time. Also, you need to make sure you make that. You had a question?
Yes. I don't know who the allowed person is, like, because there was 3 of us in the home. So I don't know if it was Jennifer or it was Richard.
It's Richard.
Okay, well, I just want to say the fact that he's my emergency contact, so
Mhm.
as
Yeah,
well.
that's good to know. But so he talked to pretrial services, and he said he's okay with contact, so I'm not putting any kind of restrictions in place. So you shouldn't have any issues there. But if Richard at some point tells you to step away, you gotta step away. You get that?
Yes, yes, miss.
All right, so you're excused.
Awesome. Now, do I get paperwork on this as well?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thank you, miss. You have a good day. Where to set up?
Yeah, and sit downstairs with the mails.
Thank you, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Which one?
No, this is Saturday, right? And I think
We just did him, right?
the next one's Friday.
Yeah, I think that was the only one he had.
That is.
Yeah, let's put it for this one.
It's like it's an
Hello, can I get your name?
Paul Hoyland.
Sorry, say that again.
Paul Hoyland.
All right, sir, we are seeing you because you have a case out of Tucson City Court. You were charged with one count of reckless burning, and you had a court date on September the 9th, and you failed to appear. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, though not necessarily at court expense. You have the right to be present for all court dates. However, if you fail to come to court, then a warrant will issue for your arrest, and those hearings will happen without you. Also, if you are convicted and can't be sentenced within 90 days because of your failure to come to court, you could also lose your right to a direct appeal. So, sir, I have reviewed everything. I am going to release you on your promise to appear. Your next court date is going to be October 29th, and that will be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. As conditions of your release, you are not to go to the incident location, and I will be entering not guilties on your behalf at this time to this charge. Now, sir, you need to make sure you make your court date. If you don't come to court, a warrant will issue. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, sir, you're excused. Hello, Mr. Fatak. Hello, Ms. Summers.
Good evening, Judge. How are you?
Doing well.
Good evening.
Down on the base there.
Hello, sir. Can I get your name?
Able to review?
All right, sir, we are seeing you this evening for an initial appearance. You were picked up on some new felony charges. Defense, do you want me to waive reading?
Certainly, Judge.
So, sir, you've been arrested on some new felony charges. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about your release conditions and your next court dates. Now, you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, and I'm appointing the public defender's office to represent you. I've reviewed the interim complaint and the pretrial services report. I see that the state is requesting a no bond hold pursuant to Article 2, Section 22. Ms. Summers, anything to add?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Fatak?
Your Honor, we just asked the court to set a no bond hearing in Superior Court. Thank you.
All right, sir, what I'm going to do is I am going to set a no bond hearing at this time. I'm going to order that you be held without bond. That no bond hearing will be on October the 2nd at 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm also setting a preliminary hearing on October the 7th at 1:30 in the afternoon. The only release conditions I'm putting in place at this time is you are not to have any contact with any alleged victims or victims' representatives, their residence, work, and or place of schooling, if that applies. Now, sir, if you're released from custody at any point, you need to make sure you make all of your court dates. If you don't come to court, then a warrant will issue. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Right, sir, you're excused.
Down there, sit for the mail. Yeah. Spalding, you're up first. Go come right here for me.
Hi,
Hello, sir. Can I get your name?
Keith Bolton.
All right, sir, we're seeing you this evening because you were arrested on new felony charges. You were charged with theft as well as aggravated shoplifting. We're going to talk about your release conditions and your next court date. Now, you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney. Give me 1 second here. All right, so sir, I am going to appoint the public defender at this time, Mr. Fatak. I'm not sure if there's a code. I don't have the information on whether the other individual was charged, so that's something your office might want to look into and see if there's a conflict.
Certainly, Judge. I don't see her on tonight's list, but that could change in the future. But I'll make sure I alert the office to be on the lookout.
All right, thank you for that. So sir, like I said, I am appointing the public defender's office to represent you. Now, I've read your pretrial services information as well as the probable cause statement. The state is asking for a $10,000 bond. Ms. Summers, anything further?
Your Honor, excuse me. I'm so sorry. Yes, Your Honor, I understand that the nature of the offense would normally have us asking for recommending release, but I would just note his very, very extensive criminal history and the fact that these incidents occurred over multiple times over a long period of time. And then also, not that it's really relevant to conditions of release. But I do just want to note that for whatever reason, this was brought to our office as a non-arrest and it's scheduled for grand jury. I guess they happened to arrest him before we could get to grand jury. But we do intend to proceed and the proposed indictment has 11 counts covering all of these incidents. Thank you.
Mr. Fatak?
Thank you, Judge. So I do acknowledge that Mr. Bolton seems to have some history, but focusing on his last two convictions, Judge, the 2009 conviction and 2021 conviction, looks like he was released to probation after a prison term. Each time it appears he completed his probation term, and I don't see any revocations in the pretrial services report. So he has proved that he can do well on pretrial release by completing his probations on the previous case. Your Honor, we understand there is already an indictment which is coming out soon. It's a property offense, as Ms. Summers pointed out. Pretrial Services was able to contact Mr. Bolton's sister. She could provide third-party custody and transport. He seems to have stable housing. Given the totality of everything, Judge, we would be asking for Pretrial Services release. But if Your Honor is inclined to set a bond, we ask that, given the circumstances, it be no more than $2,000. Thank you.
All right, sir, after considering everything, I am going to order you be held on a $5,000 cash or secured bond. You will be supervised by pretrial services if you post that, and you'll need to comply with any monitoring or other directions they give you. No alcohol, illegal drugs, firearms, or weapons, no contact with any alleged victim or the incident locations. I'm also ordering that you not have any contact with any Lowe's stores located in Pima County. I'm setting a preliminary hearing for October the 7th at 1:30 in the afternoon. Sir, if you're released, you need to make sure you make all your court dates. If you don't, then a warrant will issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, sir, you're excused. Mhm. Hello, can I get your name?
Joshua Boyle.
All right, sir, we're seeing you this evening because you were arrested in two separate felony cases. We're going to be talking about your release conditions and your next court dates. Now, in one case, you were charged with domestic violence, aggravated assault by way of strangulation, and in the other, you were charged with armed robbery, and it looked like that one was the more recent in time case. Now, sir, you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, and I'm appointing the public defender's office to represent you. I've read both interim complaints as well as your pretrial services report, and it looks like the state is asking for a concurrent $50,000 bond in both cases. Ms. Summers, anything you wanted to add?
Your Honor, I acknowledge that he doesn't have any felony or misdemeanor DV history based on the pretrial services report. But the information in both complaints is very concerning for community safety. It also looks like there's an escalation in violence. And then, although not charged, it looks like there is a history of previous domestic violence that was unreported. So for both the DV case and then for the robbery case, both of those demonstrate a concern for community safety.
Mr. Fatak?
Thank you, Judge. As the state noted, Mr. Boyle has absolutely no felony criminal history. I don't, yeah, the pretrial services report notes no misdemeanor history either. Mr. Boyle is only 23 years old. He seems to have stable housing separate from the victim in this case. Your Honor, he does have family support as well as a stable job. So in light of all of those factors, Your Honor, we will be asking for Mr. Boyle's release to pretrial services on both these matters. But if Your Honor is inclined to set a bond, we ask that the bond be no more than $2,000 on each case. Thank you.
And just out of curiosity, counsel, I did not see any kind of risk assessment on the DV case. Had either of you seen one?
No, Judge. You're muted. Typing. Ms. Summers, you're muted.
Thank you, Mr. Fatak. No, Your Honor, my clerk indicated that she could not locate one.
Okay. All right, sir, I have considered everything, and while I do note that you have no criminal history, these two cases happened or are alleged to have happened in pretty quick succession. They both involve some fairly serious allegations, and in the DV case, even though we don't have a risk assessment, it has all the the markings of a case that creates potential lethality concerns. So what I'm going to order in the domestic violence case, that you be held on a $20,000 cash or secured bond. In the armed robbery case, that will be a $10,000 cash or secured bond. Those bonds will be consecutive to one another. As conditions of your release, if you post bond, you will be monitored by pretrial services. No firearms or weapons, no alcohol or illegal drugs, no contact with any alleged victims or incident locations. And in the domestic violence case, I'm also additionally ordering that you not commit any acts of domestic violence. Again, no contact whatsoever with the alleged victim, her residence, or her workplace, and no contact means no contact in any way, shape, or form, even while you're in custody. And I'm setting both matters for a preliminary hearing on October the 7th at 1:30 in the afternoon. Now, sir, if you're released from custody, you need to make sure that you make your court dates. If you don't, then a warrant will issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. I have one question.
My recommendation is you talk to Mr. Fatak first, just to make sure that's something that I can hear.
No question, Judge.
All right, sir, you're excused. Hello, sir. Can I get your name?
Trey Alexander Russell.
All right, sir. We are seeing you this evening because you were arrested on a new felony charge of domestic violence assault by way of strangulation. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, and I'm appointing the public defender's office to represent you. We're going to be talking about your release conditions and next court dates. And I've read everything provided to me, and the state is asking for a $25,000 bond. Ms. Summers, anything to add?
Only that anticipating your inquiry, I also do not have a Form 4 on this case either. And then also I would just ask that you take the fact that this is a DV case into consideration when considering the input that the victim provided to pretrial services and comparing when the incident originally happened versus the current input. Thank you.
Mr. Fatak?
Can I have a brief moment, please, Judge?
Absolutely.
Thank you. A couple of things, Your Honor. I want to start with the interim complaint. So it looks like there's two things that stand out to me. The first thing is I agree there is probable cause for strangulation, but it's more or less a weak claim, Judge, because there is an issue as to whether or not the strangulation by impeding the victim's airway actually happened. There's definitely enough probable cause for attempt, but we don't know if the strangulation was actually completed. There's reasonable possibilities that the strangulation did not happen based on the contents of the interim complaint. The second thing I noticed, Judge, is the arresting officer did put a note at the bottom of the interim complaint pointing out that Mr. Frazo cooperated with police, surrendered his firearm, and was already in compliance. So he's demonstrated, Your Honor, that he's a good candidate for pretrial services release. Again, Judge, as the state pointed out, the victim was contacted by pretrial services. She welcomes contact, but if Your Honor does not want to order contact at this time because of the nature of the allegations, that's fine. Mr. Frazo, on top of that, has lived in Tucson 12 years. I understand pretrial services has mentioned he's homeless, but he seems to be self-employed as a remodeler, and he can find housing away from the victim. No felony or misdemeanor criminal history, Judge. So given all of that, we would be asking for pretrial services. Thank you.
All right, sir, after having considered everything, I am going to order you be held on a $10,000 cash or secured bond. You will be supervised by pretrial services if you post that, and you'll need to comply with any directions they give you. No alcohol, illegal drugs, firearms, or weapons, no acts of domestic violence. And at this time, sir, so the information I have is that the alleged victim is okay with having contact. However, given the nature of the allegations in this case, for right now, I'm going to put in a no contact order. So no contact with the alleged victim, Maria Islas, and no contact with her residence or her workplace. And that starts right now. Your next court date will be a preliminary hearing, and that will be on October the 7th at 1:30 in the afternoon. Sir, if you're released from custody, you need to make sure you make all your court dates. If you don't, then a warrant will issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, you're excused.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. Can I get your name?
Brandon Nicholas Romo.
All right, sir, we are seeing you this evening because you were arrested on new felony charges of possession of a narcotic drug and possession of drug paraphernalia. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney. not necessarily at court expense. So, sir, the information I have is that the state is moving to dismiss this case without prejudice. Mr. Patak, I'm assuming no objection?
No objection, Judge.
So, sir, I am going to grant the motion to dismiss. It will be without prejudice. What that means is that even though the case is going away tonight, it could come back at some point. The state does have the ability to refile. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir. So, you are excused.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Longo, outdoor, downstairs with the mail. That's it. Yeah. Oh, Vasquez, I'm sorry.
Hello, can I get your name?
Roberto Vasquez.
All right, sir, we are seeing you this evening because you were arrested on a new charge of unlawful discharge of a firearm within city limits. We're going to be talking about your release conditions and next court dates. Now, sir, you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney, and I'm appointing the public defender's office to represent you in this matter. Now, I've reviewed everything provided to me. The state is asking for a $5,000 bond. Ms. Summers, anything further?
Nothing to add to the information in the recommendation.
Mr. Fatah?
Judge, we are hoping for pretrial services release of Mr. Vasquez. The reasons being obvious. At the age of 19, he does not have any felony or juvenile criminal history. He has stable housing. His mother has agreed to provide third-party custody and transport to court. No misdemeanor history either, Judge. I understand the inherent nature of the offense, which is use of a firearm. But if the court were to order today that Mr. Vasquez surrender any firearms in his possession, we have no objection to that. Moreover, Your Honor, reading the interim complaint, Mr. Vasquez, when law enforcement was investigating this situation, volunteered information that he allegedly that he was in possession of the firearm. I don't see any other convictions, so he's not a private possessor. I do understand other witnesses have pictures, but again, he was the one who informed law enforcement about possessing the firearm. So in light of all of that, Judge, we would ask the court to consider release to pretrial services with an order to surrender. Thank you.
All right, sir, I am going to release you to the supervision of pretrial services. You will need to comply with any directions they give you in terms of monitoring or treatment. You're not to possess or consume any alcohol or illegal drugs, and you are not to possess any firearms or weapons. So you're going to need to talk to your attorney. And if you do have any other weapons, you need to surrender those to somebody else. If you don't have somebody else who can get them, they need to get surrendered probably to law enforcement. You are also not to return to the incident location. And I'm setting a preliminary hearing for October the 17th at 1:30 in the afternoon. Now, sir, you need to make sure you make all of your court dates. If you don't come to court, then a warrant will issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir, you're excused.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, counsel, jail, pretrial. I think that's everything on my end. Everyone have a good night.
You too. Thank you. Bye, Ty.
Bye-bye.